as a coach, right, you're making kids do things they don't necessarily want to do, right? Wake up early, lift, listen to me, change your swing, you're making them do things they don't necessarily want to do, but it's in order to get them to become who they want to be, right? And so I think from a coaching perspective, you got to figure out how to do that, right? Because it's not easy.
Okay, welcome back to Hawaii Real, everybody. I'm your host, Ioke Ehu, and I want to send a shout out to my beverage host, Hawaiian Springs Water, for this episode. Thank you so much for this water. It's alkaline, 7.7. Great stuff. I'll leave the Amazon link in the description below, so you can go ahead and buy it right off of Amazon, have it shipped directly to your house. Don't have to go anywhere to buy your water. Straight from the Big Island. Best tasting water ever. Ready to go? All right, I have a great guest here. 96er, little guy, Billy Pieper. Not so little. Big dude. How you doing, Billy?
I'm great, man.
Thank you so much for coming on to Hawaii Real, man. I'm going to give you a little quick spiel on who Billy is. He's a senior vice president over at American Savings Bank. One of the senior vice presidents over there.
That's right.
Yeah. But what you were telling me before is that you're also a baseball coach for Hawaii Elite Club baseball. And you played baseball at UCLA and then dabbled in minor leagues in Kansas City Royals.
I did.
Which is like we went to high school together. Manoa, 96. I was hoping to have you on for like the 96th episode, but I think this is like the 98th, 97, 98 episode. I lost count. Yeah.
That's all right. Yeah. We know people in 98.
We do. They're not as great, but no. Yeah. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Gosh. So, quick icebreaker questions here for you, Billy. Well, you went to high school, Kamehameha.
Yep.
Did you go Kamehameha your whole time?
No, I went to Hahio Elementary in elementary school, and then got into Kamehameha 7th grade.
Ah.
So 7th through 12th.
Nice. You married your high school sweetheart?
I did, yeah.
Shout out to her.
Yeah, Melody Akaka Pieper.
Shout out, Mel. How you doing? What neighborhood are you from?
So I was raised in Hawaii Kai. Lived there with my dad and my stepbrothers and sister. Yep. So
HKB.
HKB. Yeah, with no tattoo though, but yeah. I
just had that guest on, Kavika Burgess. He was from Hawaii Kai too. You know him?
Oh yeah. I know Kavika well. Yeah.
Do you guys do work together and stuff?
Well, we cross paths, not so much work, but community stuff. And he's been many places. And so our paths have crossed through different community organizations that I was a part of, but never really working together in the finance industry. But great guy, great. I know his wife well. I mean, great family. He's good people.
Have you tried his, what is he talking about? Luau stew? No.
I haven't tried his, but I love me some luau stew, bro.
Yeah, he's still talking about luau stew. I was like, I don't know what that is. I haven't tried that before. And he said the same thing. He's like, dude, I gotta get you some whole.
So it's funny you say that because literally last week we made luau stew, but it was cheat luau stew. Probably not like what he was thinking, but basically you take lau, and I hope I don't get persecuted for this shortcut, right? But you take lau, maybe 5 or 6 of them. You put it in a pan, add chicken broth or, beef stock and boil it, simmer it. And then it becomes poor man's luau stew. It tastes just as good though, but you don't get the chunks of meat, and you don't get as much meat, but it tastes really good. Wow.
Do you like the chunks of meat in your stew?
Oh, I prefer the chunks of meat.
Okay,
but if you don't have time to cube the meat and, because making stew in general, beef stew, for instance, I mean, it's a commitment. It takes some time. You got to cut all the, you know what I'm saying? It's not just putting lau in a pot and putting chicken broth. You know what I mean?
Like me, just buy the can of it,
right.
Open up the can, but it's not the same stuff.
No, exactly.
It's so weird being in Hawaii where all our beef stew has, you put it on rice.
Yeah.
Like you eat it with rice. Mainland, no, it's just stew.
Right.
It's like, what do you eat it with? You eat it with stew. You eat it in a bowl. Like,
that's why you get potatoes, right? Yeah.
Right. It's like, no, you got to throw rice in there. Right. You got to throw rice in everything.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's one thing I love about Hawaii and our culture here is that we just throw rice in everything.
Yeah.
We don't have rice. It's like, where's the rice?
No, I know. I'm trying to cut back too, but it's tough, bro.
It's like, I'll almost cut back on everything else before I cut back on rice.
No, I hear you. Yep.
No, I like rice, but I'll cut back on the breads and the sugars and stuff like that.
Right.
I love me some rice. Do you put shoyu on your rice?
It depends what you're eating it with. So sometimes, like if you're going with, like terry chicken kind, then no need, because got the, has the sauce. But if it's, with maybe fish or dish that's maybe not as salty, then I'll add some. Yeah, maybe furikake too. You can mix in some of that too. But yeah, it depends on the dish.
Do you put furikake and like the hurricane mix on your popcorn?
That's not my first choice.
What's your first choice?
Yeah, my first choice is just butter,
salt.
Butter popcorn, movie kind.
Yeah,
with kakimochi.
Oh, with the kakimochi.
Yeah, and not mandatory, because I like just theater. I could eat a whole bag before we threw the previews, kind of. I mean, it's my wife, or actually my kids hate it, right? But I love movie theater popcorn.
Do you get like sick as hell the next day?
I do. A little banged up the next day.
Yeah, just from all that oil and grease and butter. But at the time, it's like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever.
Yeah.
I can't stop myself.
Yeah.
Oh, the movie's about to start.
Yeah.
Like, I might need to go get more.
Right.
But we actually get the large popcorn, and right when we buy it, we ask for
the refill.
Yeah, the refill right there.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, I know. I haven't been to a movie in 2 years probably.
We just went a few weeks ago to what do we see? Oh, the Marvel movie with the Chinese guy, Shang-Chi.
Right. Yeah. I saw the previews. They're blowing that up. Yeah. How was it? Good?
There was hardly any. Oh, yeah. The movie was great, but there was hardly anybody in the theater.
Oh.
Like we go to the movie, we go into Ward Theater, and there was no line for anything.
Right.
And it just seemed like a regular day at the movie.
Wow. Yeah, I mean,
nothing.
It's going to be interesting to see people, how behaviors change, especially with all these movies being released through streaming services. In addition, I mean, watching it from the comfort of your home sometimes is better, but you don't get the popcorn. So I think that we got to get back.
We got to get back just for the popcorn.
Yeah,
the $80 popcorn.
Yeah, that's true, man.
Do you have any nicknames?
So my full name is William Charles Alikane Pieper, and I'm the second, named after my dad. But my nickname is Billy or Bill, right? But my dad called me Pal, so that's the extent of my nickname, I think.
Yeah, it's a good thing you didn't go to school in the South.
Yeah, I know.
Billy Chuck.
I know. Hawaii, you get away with it. I mean, most of my family calls me Billy Boy. But yeah, in the South, it has a different meaning.
Yeah, Charles, Billy, Billy Chuck. My kids have these friends. They're twins, and they're William, and the other one's Robert.
Oh wow!
I was like, do their parents know that they're Billy Bob?
Yeah. I love it.
They can't go to school together in the South. That has been known as the Billy Bob twins.
Yeah,
but they're really great kids, great family.
Oh, that's good.
So just pal. What does pal mean?
Pal. P-A-L. Like pal?
Yeah.
Like friend?
Oh, just friend.
Yeah. It was kind of my brothers actually were jealous of it because he didn't have a nickname for them, but he would just call me pal, and
were you the youngest?
No, so I was the eldest.
Eldest.
Yep. So I was the eldest, and yeah. I mean, it was weird. I didn't even think twice about it. When he used to call me it, actually, I kind of liked it. And then now I kind of miss it just because he passed away last year around this time. And so, but yeah, no, it was a cool nickname. And it never stuck with me in terms of calling my son a nickname. You like that, like pal. I mean, we have nicknames for them, but it wasn't like friend or, like a lot of nicknames, local nicknames are, brother boy or those types of terms of endearment, but we don't necessarily have those for our kids. But yeah, no, it was cool. Yeah.
Is it like, do you think it's like a bygone era of nicknaming kids? Because myself and my older sister had nicknames growing up, but beyond that, nobody else in our family did.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like I said, we have nicknames for our kids, but I don't know. Maybe gone are the days of the more common ones. Now it's more like, I mean, like we call my son Goose, right? And I don't know if he likes it or not. Jaden, right? But we call him Goose. But it came from something where my wife, Mel, one day was was playing with him and calling him a silly goose, like he was laughing and acting, he's an infant, right? But being silly. And so she called silly goose, and I don't know how it stuck, but called him goose. And then our middle one, we call Bubba, right? And it's not, and she's, she's, yeah. And so,
that was me growing up. I was Bubba.
That's awesome. Yeah. No, but again, there wasn't, the way it came about was so just organic, and she was kind of stocky, and she was kind of, and my wife just started calling her Bubba.
We'll call her Bubba.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's what I mean, right? And she didn't have a lot of hair, right? And so, but it stuck, and so to this day she still calls her Bubba. She also calls her blanket her Bubba, but that's for another podcast. Yeah.
Wait, your daughter does or Mel does?
Yeah, no, Mel.
I was pulled out my headphones.
Oh, man.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah. Well, what did Mel call you?
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah. Run out of time.
If you had superpowers, what would you pick? What would you have?
Wow.
I like this because it's a really deep question.
Yeah.
Makes you think.
Gosh. Because I'm trying to think, like, what are the rules, right? But this is just being transparent. When I was growing up, I wanted to have the superpower to hear people's thoughts. Mm-hmm. So, you just, if you wanted to tune into anybody who was nearby, you had the ability to actually, tune into that individual and hear their thoughts. But I don't know why, like, now that I'm older, I just remember having that, because I remember being asked this before when I was in high school, but now I think superpower for me, is probably a little different than hearing people's thoughts.
Which would be what? Because that sounds like psychopathic. But
yeah. No, I think it was more just because, from my perspective, was being able to, influence them, right? For
psychopathic.
Yeah, stupid. Yeah, no, actually, the more I talk,
answer.
the more I talk, the more I think, like, what are you? But
it's like Professor X.
Yeah. But I think now, if there was a superpower, it would be to be in more than one place at a time. Just because I think a lot of what I do is across. It's across community, across business, across athletics, family, obviously, and so it'd be kind of cool to be able to be in multiple places at once.
Have more yous?
Yeah, no, not that, bro.
Or just be
we
like,
don't need any more.
You be able to go everywhere.
No, yeah, so
instantaneously.
Me to be in my basically more me's, right? In the sense that I could be present there, but be in multiple places at once. Wow.
It's very godlike.
Jeez, dude. Can we skip the next question?
It's like, first you want to read everybody's thoughts, then you want to be everywhere.
I hear you. No, yeah.
Deep question.
No, it is deep. Yeah, that's good.
But I like how before you answer the question, you're like, well, what are the rules?
Yeah.
So in the question, there's no rules, right? Mm-hmm. It's just like, what superpowers would you have?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's interesting to see, like, what people say and how they kind of either box themselves into their own rules and answer,
right,
or don't box themselves into their answers.
Right,
like,
right.
I want to be everywhere at the same time. Like, that would be awesome.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's like, there's no rules to that.
Right, yeah.
So if you could be everywhere all the time, yeah, there'd be no limit.
That is kind of like
you could get so much done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
What was that show? The superhero show, Watchmen.
I don't know.
You see the Watchmen?
No.
Wait, what? It was the big blue guy, and he could like duplicate himself and be all over the place and be working here, working there at the same time, so he could.
Okay, maybe
all over the place. Right. Dr. Manhattan or something like that is his name.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was kind of the superpower you were talking about there.
There you go.
It's very interesting. Very interesting. So, moving on. If there's a favorite historical figure in your life that you could bring forward, what kind of food would you feed them? Who would it be and what kind of food would you give?
Historical. So not here anymore.
Yeah.
And then what meal would you? Wow, that's there's many like facets of that, because I think my first, like if I could do this with somebody, it would be Jesus. Like, but I don't know what I would feed him. Like,
what would you feed Jesus?
It probably not luau stew though. I don't think I would go luau stew, or if I did, it would be with the beef chunks, not the lau mashed up with chicken broth. But
I probably wouldn't give him fish. Don't feed him fish either. He's like, dude, I had so much fish. I don't want fish.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking a Hawaiian food spread. That's what I would probably feed him. Yeah, but Jesus.
Wait, would Jesus eat pig?
Oh yeah, no, that's I don't think so. yeah. I don't know, but that's
I'm
why
shrugging. I'm shrugging here because I was like, "Wow, that's a big question." Would Jesus eat pork? I don't know.
Yeah. But then, somebody that in the athletic realm, right, is Walter Payton.
Oh, good one.
Yeah, he's my dude. Like he was my guy growing up. Just idolized him, his work ethic, and I mean, just the personality he had. He's just a good human, and did well too. I mean, he's very good on the field, but off the field, even more. And you know what I feed him? I feed him. So like our families are, the girls especially. I'd say my son too. Their kind of go-to meal, like one of their favorite meals, is steak, is grilled steak, or we've been doing some air fryer steak too. You got to try that too. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But steak with make your own sushi. So what we do is you make pot of rice. You have all the fixins for sushi with like, the spicy ahi, the California roll, the salmon, the ahi, and that's what I'd feed him.
With some wasabi.
Yep, wasabi. Show you. And I don't know if he does sushi, but I know he'll do steak.
What was his nickname? They call him Sweetness.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, he was one of my idols growing up. When I first got into football, it wasn't until seventh grade that I actually played football and got into football. But Walter Payton, he was one of the people that you heard about and saw on television. Was just like, holy crap! Right. I mean, he just like would just run into people and run over people, and he wasn't the biggest dude either. But again, his work ethic and the way he could jump and stuff, just amazing.
Yeah. That would be the two that I can think of.
It's interesting, because you weren't a running back.
No, no.
You're a big defensive lineman. I was going to say big ass defensive lineman, but man. Yeah, I remember you from high school. How you were like a star football player, but you're also like a straight A student. Which for me just boggled my mind. I was like, "Whoa, there's people like this that exist in the world."
Yeah. No. I mean. I'll tell you why. So my dad was very, he was very committed to me doing well in school. He was the first in his family, I believe, and I may be leaving somebody out here in the family, but I believe he was the first in his family to graduate from college. He was the first of his family to get into a professional occupation. He became a CPA. And so, coming through the ranks as a professional with a family full of more blue collar and great people, hard workers, and some of the smartest people I know, despite not finishing school, right? But yeah, so he made it evident very early that school was not an option, and not only that, but
or not an option to do poor in school.
That's right. Yeah. But you had to do your very best, and then he set a standard where kind of A's were the standard, right? And yeah, so I felt this this desire, right, to please him. That's part of what I didn't want. I mean, not to say I didn't want to get lickings, right? I mean, although we had our share of that, right? But it really was. Okay, Dad's setting the rules. I'm gonna do my very best, and that's what happened. And at a school like Kamehameha, you can do both. They actually provide the environment where you can do both. You can excel, or not just both, but you can excel in more than just athletics, right? It could be athletics, school, performing arts. I mean, there are a variety of different things. They provide you with the tools.
Yeah, no, like harkening back, like, do you put that onto your children too? That work ethic and stuff?
I do, but I wish I did it more, just because of the fact the fact that when I was raised, right, my dad was very, very strict, and he, he didn't hold back on discipline. When I needed it was there, right, and it wasn't a talk discipline, and so I almost was gun shy in that when we had kids, or when I had kids, I didn't want to do that. I kind of made a conscious decision that I'm going to try my best not to do that. So it's maybe a little more lenient in terms of obviously the physical discipline, but maybe too with the standards. And I'm not saying that we were light on our kids, or we are light, right? Because we have two more coming through high school and intermediate, but yeah, I think I was conscious about not being like how hard my dad was.
Do you think that your kids will end up with the same successful result that you had with this different style of parenting?
That's a good question, because that's my hope, right? My hope is that it's actually better, right? Mm-hmm. That they because there's not as much performance out of fear or performance out of trying to please, that it's more organic, like internal, I want to do this, and I'm gonna, and yeah, the standards of being the best that you can be, I think those are things that we've been stressing, right? But and in grades, right, getting good grades, and but this kind of win at all costs or succeed at all costs mentality, I think should help them, right? Taking that away, right? Where now you can actually perform and be the very best that you can be. It's you versus you. It's not so much you versus your teammate or your classmates, right? In terms of being the very best in the class, it's more about being the best you, right? And then, so to answer your question, my hope is yes. My hope is that yes, they not only continue to have a foundation of wanting to be the very best that they can be and strive to make the people around them better, but that it ultimately helps them to be better than how my wife and I were.
Yeah, because I'm marrying that with our kids too.
Mm-hmm.
I got lickings growing up, but even my kids, gave them a little bit of lickings here and there, but through the course of doing that, it's been more of trying to show more love and compassion and allowing them to have their failures, but also encouraging them that, yes, everybody's going to fail at certain things. It's what you do after that that's more important than failing or getting a poor grade on a quiz or something like that.
Mm-hmm. No, 100%. I mean, and that's one thing maybe I didn't learn, because my drive for success probably was more out of fear of failure than driving for something. It was, I think it was more fear of how I would look, or fear of not reaching a certain level, or fear of failing, versus, because let's take a shot. Like, let's just do the best that we can. Let's try. And it's okay to fail. And I think with the kids now, I mean, like, at least to your point, what you said is awesome, right? Is embracing failure, right? Living failure to failure, like fail fast and often, and bounce back, because I think that's the only way you learn, right? That's the only way you get better. And you almost, you put stumbling blocks in front of you when you're trying to perform out of avoiding failure. You lose out on opportunities, I think, that you'd be more than willing to take advantage of if you didn't care what people thought, or you didn't care about failing, right? That there's that motivation of trying to drive and be the best, but at the same time, it's more about doing what you want to do and being the best that you can be. And
right. So how much of your upbringing beyond high school, going into college and getting your jobs and your career, how much of that do you think is your personal choice, or how much of that was directed by your father's parenting style?
Oh yeah, no. So that's a good question, because I think part of it was always there, right? Of, okay, you got to be the best. And when not be the best, you like be the best, like wherever you go, you want to do it the best. You want to, what level is the highest? You want to get to the highest level, right?
But does that end up narrowing what you choose to go into? As I'm only choosing to go into certain areas that I'm already good at, instead of going to something that you're uncomfortable with.
Yeah, I think it played a role in perhaps maybe not doing, because like, I mean, I joke with my wife, like if I had my dream job, I would be a head coach of a college or professional team, right? I mean, that like, I think my wiring is more for coaching than it is for finance or banking. You know what I mean? But at the same time, there's a lot of principles that overlap that help me, right? And so to your point, right? I have friends today that are taking these paths where they're moving away, right? And that was another thing, is I didn't really want to move, but if you want a shot at that job, a head coaching job, at a top college or even a professional sports team, whether it be baseball or football, right? You can't do it from here. It's limited. The opportunities are, you've got to move and you got to put in your time, and we know a handful of folks who are doing that and who've reached the big leagues, for instance, right? We have, a local boy, on the coaching staff for the San Francisco Giants, right? And young, right? And so the opportunities are there, but I say all of that to say that maybe, my dad being a CPA and maybe my love of math, for instance, kind of made me say no, because you might fail. You got to move. And stuck more to finance, which by the way, I'm happy I did, because I think there's a lot that I've done in my short career, right, that would not have happened without having worked for companies like Bank of Hawaii or now with American Savings Bank.
Yeah, because you're making a huge impact wherever you go in the finance area, because we do hear your name being spread about here and there, and you are doing things for the community with the banks, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I try to, right? I mean, that was another thing with my dad, right? And another guy who, I saw him this morning, but I don't know if you remember Blaine Geisen. So he was the coach, yeah,
football coach over at Kamehameha.
Yeah, but he was another big, kind of father figure, mentor for me, and he and my dad shared this one thing where you help people who are less fortunate than you are. You've been given an opportunity to do certain things. Now you have a duty to help make the lives of others around you better. And so that's what I kind of try to do. I mean, with joining different organizations to lend my time to hopefully help, people who need it.
Yeah, it's like that's where you get that superpower from, where you want to be everywhere at the same time, doing so many things, because you have this huge heart that's just out there for, loving people and helping people rise out of any ashes that they're coming from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Coaching. How? I mean, you said your dream job would be a coach, head coach somewhere. But you've settled for just coaching with this club team and stuff like that, right? So how has being mentored as a kid from your football coach, and probably baseball coaches too,
right,
helped you develop to where you are now as a coach and mentoring kids now?
Yeah, you take a piece of each coach that you've been mentored by, and so huge role, right? So Vern Ramey was my baseball coach in high school. Coach Blaine Geisen was my football coach. Those two men, completely different people. Believe it or not, classmates too, 76. So, exactly 20 years before us. But, and similar, you had Dylan on. So Vern Ramey played professional baseball, minor leagues, and Blaine Geisen played professional football for the Atlanta Falcons.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Then Dylan and I kind of made little, not commitment, but, pinky promise, right? That, hey, let's do that. Like, let's play pro ball. And Dill did it at a much higher level than I did, right? He played for the Canadian Football League, set a bunch of records in college at University of San Diego. But I remember when I made it to, I was in spring training, minor league ball, which is not what you see on TV. But still, for the Kansas City Royals, being able to call Dill and say, like, dude, we kind of made it, and so I share that with you because those coaches put that in our head, right? If our coaches maybe didn't play pro sports, I'm not sure if we would have the same kind of like, I mean, maybe we would, but they put it in our head that it's possible. Kids from Hawaii can make it. And back when when we were in high school, it wasn't as this, right? I mean, and gosh, it's 20 plus years ago, right? But the recruiting scene was different.
Yeah, it was a far different scene than what you see now, where you have, kids going to these big colleges and then going to the NFL or Major League Baseball, because you have Hawaii-based or Hawaii-born athletes in these major league sports now.
Right.
Whereas when we were kids, it wasn't. Like
limited.
I'm looking back, like who in the NFL was from Hawaii?
Yeah, I mean, you had like Jesse Sapolo, right? Ross
offensive
Francis.
linemen.
No, exactly. No, you're right. Right. You did see quarterbacks, right?
Yeah, you saw like big Samoan dudes that could push people around.
Right. If you did see him in skill, like Darryl Kahn, he was a QB, backup QB, but if they were skilled, they weren't the star. Right. They were in a backup role, right? Similarly with Len Sakata, played a lot of years in the major leagues, but and actually had a season. I mean, had some time in his career where he actually was a star. I mean, he did really well, but again, playing that middle infield position, was more of a backup role. And so anyway, yeah, I mean, so from a coach, one thing that I can't remember who told me this, but it was, we learn more from models than manuals, meaning we learn more from watching than we learn from reading or being told something. Right. Yeah. And so that was true, right? Cause Coach G, Coach Blaine, he great man, great human, and really kind of, walked the talk. And I like to say his audio and video were in alignment, meaning what he said is what he did. And Vern similarly, good man, just good Christian, solid, human. And so again, learning from them, right, it helped. So they definitely played a huge role in shaping not only my playing career, but my coaching style. Right. And I think mine is I try to blend it. Right. And, a lot of kids, I mean, especially early in my coaching career, when you're fresh off of playing, you can connect a little bit better with the high school kids. For instance, I coached at Kamehameha when I moved back, right? So I coached, I mean, I've been coaching for 20 years.
You're coaching baseball or football?
I was coaching baseball at Kamehameha, yeah. And then my son went to St. Louis, so I helped out with another Kamehameha coach that was there, George Gusman, who is the head coach at St. Louis. So I coached with him. And then I coached a little bit of football, some Pop Warner, a little bit of high school, right? But I think my style is one that, and it's always changing too, right? Because the kids are changing, and it's important that as a coach, if your job is to, make kids or get kids to do what they don't necessarily want to do in order to get them to become who they want to be, then you got to meet them where they want to be met. It's not just you, like, old school, right? Of you just saying, get your ass. I mean, there's some of that.
Say that again, slower again.
What is the getting kids to? So as a coach, right, you're making kids do things they don't necessarily want to do, right? Wake up early, lift, listen to me, change your swing. You're making them do things they don't necessarily want to do, but it's in order to get them to become who they want to be, right? And so I think from a coaching perspective, you got to figure out how to do that, right? Because it's not easy, and every kid is different.
And that's so huge, because that translates into life, that translates into school, business, everything. Right. You have to do the things you don't want to do in order to succeed or find success in whatever industry it is that you're diving into.
Absolutely.
Like you got great grades in school. Mm-hmm. You put in the work.
Right.
Me, not so much.
Yeah.
I didn't get good grades. Right. I didn't put in the work,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do homework. That was
the
bane of my life as a high school kid. Hated homework. It's like take the test. Give me the test.
Right.
I got this.
Yeah.
Nope.
Right.
But, throughout, my life, and I'm sure throughout your life, that hard work is what puts you into that successful plateau that you want to be in, and then grow from there.
Yeah.
Like I was telling you before this, this is my 97th episode,
right?
98th episode, something like that. It's like looking back on that, it's like, holy crap.
That's crazy.
I'm about to hit 100. And
That's crazy.
Most podcasters, they don't get to that point.
Yeah, you're saying something. I mean, they don't get past 8.
Right. The average is 8.
Right.
And then they just kind of dies off from there because it's hard work. You know, it's especially at one like this where I'm constantly bringing on guests.
Right.
Like I got to find a guest.
Right.
And bring them on and then talk to them, which I love doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so it's totally there. That hard work, a hard ethic, or a hard work ethic. And you know, so what is one of the things, strategies that you use to instill that into the kids that you coach?
You know, I mean, so one of the principles, and again, you know, it's funny. I'm going to say this because I struggle with this. It's not something easy to do. It's something we got to be mindful of, but it's true, I think, from a leadership perspective. And that's, and again, I can't remember. I feel bad because I'm stealing all these people's stuff that I've been told over the years, right? But I heard someone say something like the shelf life of your influence, right? So the shelf life of your influence on people rests squarely on how consistently you live out what you teach. Meaning, people only are going to continue to believe you and follow you if what you say you do. And I struggle with that, right? I mean, just, you know, as just busy and you wanting to make people happy, it's not always easy to do that, right? But as a leader, I think, you know, from a strategy perspective, if kids start seeing you not do what you say you're about, right? Or if kids start to see you falter from the principles that you're telling them about, then your influence goes away, or it starts to dwindle, right? And kids more than probably even adults, right? They won't be shy about it, right? Adults might humor you because you have title, right? You're my boss. You have title. You lead by title. Kids, ain't no title at coach. Like yeah, they'll maybe, you know, humor you to get playing time, but they'll be a lot less shy about showing you how much of an ass you're being, right? Right. I mean, so I think that's something that, you know, I've been more conscious of, especially coaching my son, right? If you think about that, it's a different dynamic, right? Coaching your son. And I coached him from when he was 4 or 5 years old, right? And had to learn a lot. And it was not always easy. And it's still to this day, you know, moving from kind of that coach to consultant role, right? Where I'm telling him, you know, how, like, what to do and when to do, to now providing consultative advice, right? Coming alongside of him. It is a transition that I'm still working through. I mean, he's a freshman in college now. So, I mean, you know, we still have a lot of road in front of us with this new relationship. But yeah, I think.
Is he playing baseball in college?
He is. Yeah. So he's excited. I mean, he's playing at Pacific Lutheran University in Tacoma, Washington. And so, you know, he has the dream too, right? I think he wants to ultimately play at a high level. But finding out, like what we were talking about earlier, right, about the work, right, is you don't see a lot of the work that a lot of these overnight success guys, you know, put in, right? So, I mean, I think he's starting to get it a little bit more where, you know, he knows he has the ability. It's now about whether or not he wants it. And I think in life in general, that's kind of like the secret, right? Is you can almost have whatever you want. You know, whatever you put your mind to, you almost, I mean, there's limitations, sure. but life doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you settle for, right? So what you are willing to basically suffer to continue to get, because I could have, I mean, knock on wood, right? That you know, my son doesn't do this, right? But I could have hung around in the minor leagues, and I could have kept, you know, trying to make a team and play independent ball, and just kept in the grind of trying to live the dream of playing someday at the major league level. But that would be a sacrifice, right? And that would be years, right? So I had to make a conscious decision that after 3 years of minor league ball, that I needed a pivot. And
so that's what you did. You gave yourself a hard date. It's like, I'm going to play for 2 years. And if I don't go further. Yeah, it wasn't a hard date. It was more of a, I'm going to give this a run. And I was old, right? So if you think about, you know, being in the minors now,
you know, once you go to college and then you get into the minors, you have your window smaller, right, to make it to the bigs. You have, I mean, you hear success stories of folks who are 28, 29, they make it to the bigs for the first time. But traditionally, you're looking at 18, 19, 20 is your kind of like that window to get notice, right? Get on the radar. And then you have another, 5-6 years of making it. And then you can, cement your career. But yeah, so it was less about, okay, I'm going to give myself 2 years. It was kind of year to year. And it was basically, like I said, minor league ball, you don't get, you get paid essentially minimum wage, right? To kind of live out your dream outside of whatever you signed for, whatever signing bonus, accompanied your contract, you're not getting paid well. So it's a sacrifice, right? So anyway, say all of that, right? To say that, you can kind of do whatever you want, whatever you're willing to sacrifice for, whatever you're willing to suffer for. And you can get close to, or you can potentially consider achieving some of those dreams,
Yeah, definitely. Do you think that the opportunities that we had as youngsters growing up in the 90s were more limiting than the opportunities that our children have today?
Yeah, well, I mean, the way you phrase it, I get it, right? So the opportunities were less. Let's just be honest, right? The opportunities were less, especially, if you think about, I mean, for your situation is a little different in terms of how you came to Kamehameha and how, I mean, your road at Kamehameha was a lot different than mine. Mm-hmm. And so your struggles, right. And opportunities, limitations, all those things were a little different. But like for me, like thinking about, looking at athletics specifically, definitely less opportunity, right? You almost, back then, 3, 4 max, maybe getting D1 full scholarships. Now, 30, 40, right? I mean, it's
you're talking about high school players coming out.
High school players coming out to go to, just in Hawaii.
Oh, in Hawaii, okay, right? Yeah.
Which is great, mm-hmm, right? We talked about that a little earlier. Opportunities in terms of college, with counselors, a lot of people who are coming back to be counselors at these schools, they were with us. They went through the process with us, and they knew that there was more out there, that there was more opportunity, right? So to me, and that's not an excuse, right? I mean, it's not. I mean, it's a great thing, right? It's beautiful. The thing I'll say though is the common denominator didn't change. Even though the opportunities increased, the common denominator, like we talked about, of hard work, yep, and, humility and just grit, those things didn't change. So even though the opportunities did, have increased, these kids who are earning these opportunities or taking advantage of them, they have the same skill set, the same right principle. And when it comes to athletics, these guys are head and shoulders above guys like me in high school. I mean, in terms of, oh yes, the amount of the speed and strength and explosiveness and their diets and just training regimens is completely different than I mean, again, the core, the foundation's the same, but dude, we weren't doing 225, 35 times out of high school. I mean, that wasn't, I mean, maybe you get one guy doing that, but now, 225 is kind of a lot of guys are benching 225.
Yeah, that's like a standard, right?
Yeah.
It's like how much can you do? How many of those how many reps can you do at 225?
Right. Because
isn't that 245 plates on each side?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's standard. It's like how many can you rep?
Right. Yeah.
Me in high school, none.
Yeah. I was going to say.
I would have died.
Yeah.
Like that was I think I was 160 pounds.
Right. Right. Yeah. So, I mean, and again, I'm making, kind of broad statements here, but I do think, there are a lot more opportunities, but I do think the kids are a lot more prepared too, just because a lot of the people who went away came back, right? Mm-hmm. So guys like me, like I was talking to you about Blaine Geisen, getting to the NFL back in the 70s from Hawaii, not easy to do. Out of the University of Hawaii, not likely, right? And so for him to come back and kind of set the vision that, hey, this is possible, it helped that generation, right? And then the people he helped, guess what? They're coming back and helping, right? And so to me, it's that is working, right? You go, you learn, you bring back, and you make better, right? And to me, that part of it is working.
And so for your thing, it's like sports, but it's also everything else for Hawaii people to do. It's like, hey, go learn, experience, gain knowledge, bring it back.
Yes.
Help your community, help your people here.
Yep. 100%. Yep.
Yeah, because I also feel like today's youth are finding that there are so many opportunities that they don't know what to pick or what to choose from. I remember being in high school, there weren't a whole lot of decisions to make as far as what direction I was going to go in. And the generation before us, like my father's, like there was one direction for him to go in, the military. That was it.
Right.
So I think as our generation, there was a little bit more than our prior generation, and our kids' generation, there's far more opportunities to just do literally anything.
That's a great point.
Like when we graduated, I wanted to have a hockey business.
Right.
But there was like no way for me to actually attain that in Hawaii at the time.
Right.
In the 90s or even in early 2000s.
Yep.
Come with Amazon and, the whole internet thing. It's like, well, now it's possible. So,
exactly. Yep. And you're doing it. I love it. Yeah.
Crazy stuff like that. So that's kind of what I also impart on my kids is like, I don't know what you want to do. You don't know what you want to do, but the world's your oyster. Like there's so many things you can do. Pick not just one, pick 5 things that you want to do and just start doing it. Yeah. Start going out there.
Yeah. No, that's great advice. I love that. I'm going to steal that.
There's no replacement for that hard work and pushing and the discipline of whatever facet that anybody's going to go into. If you want to be successful at it, put in the time.
That's right. Yeah.
One of the things that kind of irritates me is when people look at other people who are successful and say, "Oh, he's so lucky."
Yeah.
Fuck, bro. Yeah. It's ain't luck. Like all the late nights staying up, working when you're sleeping. Yep. All the Sundays when I'm working, you're watching football.
Right.
Like, no, it's not luck.
Yep.
It's hard work.
Yep.
And it's discipline to continue doing it, grinding, week after week.
Yeah.
That's how people build success.
Yep. No, absolutely. Yep.
That's how you achieve, senior vice president.
Yeah. No, dude. You'd be shocked to hear what I do. No, I'm just joking.
Well, what do you do at the bank? We've been talking all sorts of sports and everything.
Yeah. No. Well, I mean, I'm relatively new there, so I started about 9 months ago, and really I think my functional title is called Director of Strategic Partnerships, but basically, my function is to try and drive incremental fee income for the bank, right? In areas that are kind of outside the typical deposits and loan business.
So you're starting to sound like the bad guy.
Yeah, I know.
I
know. And what I mean by, and you're absolutely right? But what I mean by that is how do we find new opportunities to help people's dreams come true? How do we help more opportunities to help get people to where they want to be and using financial tools, right? Part of what I've been driving, right? Credit cards, right? Credit cards are great tools that if used correctly and used wisely can help entrepreneurs. It can help businesses. It can help consumers, individuals, right? Help pay for expenses that you can't get a loan for, that a bank won't lend you money for, right? And so, that's an example. One thing we're talking about lately is, and this is not a plug, right? But the Hawaii restaurant card was a huge success for the state of Hawaii. Basically finding ways to get money in the hands of people who needed it through a prepaid debit card, right? And so these prepaid debit cards were, I want to say, $75 million or so of CARES money, right? Were put on these prepaid debit cards and distributed to the community, the folks who needed it most. And but the catch with it is you only could use it at restaurants, right? And so
you help feed yourself, but you're also helping support the local business that's running the restaurant.
Exactly. So that's something that since I've joined the bank is something that I'm taking on. In fact, we're going to do it again this year, and so we've started some of the groundwork on getting the message out. And but yeah, I mean, to me again, you mentioned, okay, Billy's got to drive incremental fee income for American Savings Bank. Like it sounds so bad, but really, if you unpack it, it's not so much about fee income, because if you are helping people achieve their dreams, their financial dreams, you're going to get paid. You're going to be okay financially from our franchise perspective. If you're doing the right thing, and you're doing it, and your pricing is okay, and you're not being unfair, and you're being transparent about how you go about your business, dude, it's super fulfilling, right? And then now even more so, the relationship with American Savings Bank and Hawaiian Electric Company, owned by HEI, right? There's a huge emphasis on ESG initiatives, right? Of making sure that we're taking care of the environment, right? That we're focused more. Yes, we got to focus on shareholder value, right? Bottom line, we need shareholders. We need to take care of them.
ESG initiative?
So ESG initiatives are it's environmental, social governance policies that each corporation now is taking more of a look at, right? And they're being more intentional about it, right? Because what they're finding are shareholders, investors, right, are very concerned, right, about return on equity. They want return on their investment, right? But they're just as concerned nowadays, and more about making this place better.
Yeah, like how they're making their money.
How, right? And so as corporations who are jockeying for investors, who are trying to encourage investment into their company, and encouraging folks to want to come alongside us and invest and make our bank a great bank, or our entity a great entity. It's not all about profit and cutting expenses and driving fee income, right? It's about how you do it and what complementary impacts are you having on society, right? And how are you helping the vulnerable populations, right? Especially us here, right? We Native Hawaiians. the stats don't lie that we're overrepresented in all the wrong categories, right? And we're number one in obesity, kidney disease, unemployment, poverty, prison, right? We're on the top of the list, but we're a smaller part of the population, right? And so things like that are important to me, right? And I think in my role at American Savings Bank, that's part of why I made the jump was I think working for a local company, I can do more of that stuff. While still driving value for our franchise.
Let me throw one more question at you. Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Oh, geez. A grandpa, probably. So Jaden would be 28. But so professionally, I see myself probably running a company. I don't know which one. And I don't say that in a chest pounding way. I just say I feel like my wiring is gonna ultimately lead me to running an organization. And I don't know size but I think it's not going to be something I start up. I don't have that entrepreneurial bone in me, and so it would be something that somebody would have, or organization, local organization, right? That I could make better. And then I think from a coaching perspective, I think I'm still going to be coaching. I think I'm still going to be active in most likely baseball, and maybe coaching the grandkids if my son will let me. Right? He with PTSDs like that. You do not teach my son how to throw. Like, you stay away from him.
Yeah, right. It'll be the other way around. Yeah. I think teaching grandkids would be the absolute best.
Oh, yeah.
You just brought it up, and I'm thinking now, it's like, oh man, if my kids have kids and I get to teach them how to play whatever sport it is as, grandpa.
Right.
Because it's hard to train your own kid.
Yeah.
Or coach your own kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's much harder. It's easier if it's another coach doing it.
Yeah.
Or if you yourself are coaching other people's kids.
Yeah.
So how would that be if it's grandpa coaching the kid?
It'd be different. Yeah.
Right. Because there's that instant love and connection already there without all the disciplinary,
no disciplinary
day-to-day, whether it be fear, respect, what have you, obligations, responsibilities to the individual family unit. Grandpa doesn't necessarily have that. He's just that's why grandpa can come over and give the kids candy, right?
Exactly.
and then leave.
That's right. Yeah. Hey, this was fun, man. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for coming on, man. This is such a great, valuable episode. I like that we just kind of dove off the edge and dove right into like coaching, sports, opportunities, and stuff like that. I could totally tell that's your passion.
Yeah, man.
That's you just start diving into that, man. It's really great, really real. Yeah. And that's what I love to do, man.
Yeah. So you're doing a great job, bro. Keep it up.
Thank you so much, man. All right. Any last words for the audience out there?
Nope. Thank you again for having me. We got to bring out some more of our classmates on the show.
Yeah. We could have like a whole string of 96er 96er podcasts.
We probably could, man.
You could host a few on your own, man. Geez. Oh, dude, that would be so. Actually, you and Dylan, mic to mic, just go for like an hour, just talking about stupid stuff and cool stuff and inspirational stuff.
Yeah.
Guarantee that'd be a great episode. Yeah. I'll produce it. Yeah.
All right. There you go.
Hey, Dylan, we're coming back. We're coming for you. All right, everybody. As always, stay happy. Gotta throw your shakas, bro. Oh.